up everyone, it's Sophie here, and yeah, I've been promising you a Q&A about housing cooperatives, well, about cooperatives, what it's like to live in a housing co-op, and just answering any of your questions that you might have. You sent in some questions, and I'm going to do my best to try and give you some answers. That was a very, very long-winded way of saying Q&A. We're doing a Q&A. So a lot of you wanted to ask, what is the main difference between living in a housing cooperative and a shared house? So there is a difference. To explain this difference, I suppose it's important that people know what a cooperative is. A cooperative, it doesn't just have to be a housing cooperative, it can be a shop or a business, and what it is a organisation that is ran and owned by its members to meet their shared needs. Totally didn't just nick that straight off the internet. I put some links down below to some videos that explain cooperatives in much better, more detailed ways than I can. I always struggle with technical descriptions when it comes to this sort of stuff. What does that essentially mean for me? If you're in a shared house, you pay money to a private landlord, normally if you're renting. If you're renting in a housing cooperative, you have some ownership over that space. So each housing cooperative works differently. How we work is basically you move in here, you have a 6-month probationary period, and then what happens is the members of the co-op decide whether you are going to be a full member. My housing cooperative is essentially a business, and full members of that business are, when they become a full member, they become a director. So they have control over the business. However, as members, we do pay rent, we pay a set amount for food a week, and we pay a set amount for bills a week, but we are essentially paying rent to ourselves. Whereas if you were in private renting accommodation, you would be paying rent to a private landlord. So I hope that makes a little bit more sense. If you want to learn more about cooperatives, you can click on the videos below, and hopefully they'll explain things a little bit better than what I can. The other thing that makes a housing cooperative different from a shared house, I would say, is the fact that we have meetings. So we'll try and have a general meeting every 2 weeks to talk about new members, talk about probationary members, talk about work that needs doing on the buildings, on the house, on the land, talk about things coming up. Part of the deal of being here is that you try and do half a day's work a week. So my general half a day's work is normally chainsawing. We have a burner that is used to heat our boiler, that's the word, and obviously all those logs need to be chainsawed, ready for it, and they need to be dried out. So that is my, I would say, main house job that I do. So someone asked me how I came to live here. Before I moved in here, I actually used to work for a vegan cooperative in Derby, and I met someone who lived here at that cooperative. At the time, I used to come down here just to hang out, and did that for a few years and became friends with people here. Then me and my partner split up. Still very good friends, love Gez to bits, but we split up after about a 10-year relationship, and I needed somewhere to live. So I decided that I wanted to move in here, and that's kind of essentially how I moved in. Someone has asked how we sort food, cooking, things like that. So as I said earlier, you pay a set amount for food a week, and then you can essentially eat anything in the house that you want to eat. Unless, the golden rule, unless it's got somebody's name on it, then you leave it alone and you don't eat it. We all take it in turns to buy the food. We sometimes have veg boxes delivered or picked up, and we do have like mass bulk buying from ethical companies. But say if I'm in town, we've got a house group chat, I might just text, see if anyone wants anything, if they want bananas or whatever, and bring it in. That money that I paid for that would then come off my money for paying for food in the week. My food bill in the week, if that makes sense. However, if you have like a treat item or something that's a bit more expensive, then you will pay for that at your own pocket. So that's generally how food works. Someone has asked me about the communal areas and how that all works. So you see my barn. This is my office. This is also my bedroom upstairs. However, I don't have a toilet in here and I don't have a kitchen or anything like that. So I use the kitchen and the bathrooms in the main house, and I essentially just work and sleep in here, which suits me down to the ground. There are some different outbuildings. Some of them have their own little kitchens in them. Some of them don't, like mine. And everyone can use the communal areas of the main house, and there are people that live in the main house as well upstairs. In terms of cooking, we have a calendar in the kitchen. If someone wants to cook, they will put their initials down and then people will tick whether they're here or not. And if they're here, then they can be part of that communal meal. We've got a notice board up saying what people eat, what they don't eat. So we try and like encompass people as much as possible. We do have group dinners, but then obviously we can also do our own thing as well. My job is very nightimey and weekendy, which means that I am not around a lot of normal hours that other people would be. So I just tend to ask them to put things aside for me so I can eat as well, if I'm coming back late and they're cooking for the house. Oh, nice chai tea. Gotta have a chai tea, haven't you? Very, very good. I will finish with this question. Benefits of living in a housing cooperative. So one of the benefits I would say is that if you're struggling for money, if you can't pay your rent, if you have a difficult month, something that's really good about living in a housing cooperative is that you can just talk to people, because they essentially are, you are your landlord and they are your landlord. So you can just have a discussion and work that out, as opposed to risking eviction or being kicked out, which is something that you might struggle with if you're in a normal rented accommodation, or private rented accommodation, I should say. I also feel a lot more secure here because I feel like I'm not just going to get randomly evicted at any time or told that I've got to move on, which can happen if you're renting privately. Yes, you obviously can be asked to leave if there is a meeting and people want to vote you out, I suppose. However, I think that is quite an extreme situation, and before that even happens, there is always going to be conflict resolution that goes off, discussions that goes off, try and sort the problem out, so you're not just going to get randomly be told you've got to leave. And so I feel like there's more security here, which is really good. I feel like I'm able to create my space in a way that I wouldn't be able to do in normal rented accommodation, because I have no authority on the space. Whereas with the barn, I feel like I'm able just to kind of get on with stuff and, make my own things and do my own things. If I want a shelf, just do it. It's made me feel a lot more independent. I've learned to do a lot more DIY, and it's just all been around good for me. I've loved it. That's a really quick rundown of your questions that you've asked me, and I hope I've answered them to the best of my ability. If there's stuff that you still want to ask or that I've not covered, please ask away, and I'll do my best. Like I say, I can, despite being someone that does words for a living, I can be quite illiterate when I talk. So I hope this has made the most sense it can do. And yeah, have a lovely week, and I shall catch you real soon.